Now, the National Assembly yesterday passed 3 gender-based violence bills. The 3 bills were introduced in Parliament following a 2018 presidential summit against gender-based violence and femicide. For more on this, I'm joined by Nthabiseng Sepanya Mogale from the Commission for Gender Equality. A very good afternoon to you, Ms. Sepanya Mogale, and thank you for your time today. I was speaking earlier on to a woman who is a spokesperson for an organization called Sisters Keeper, and she was talking about the presence or their presence at the site where Pule's body was found in Roodepoort earlier this morning, as the country commemorates a year since she was last seen. The cases such as this, as well as the merits of this case as they continue unfolding, are so gruesome. And I wonder, are we starting to see an escalation of these cases? Are they becoming more and more gruesome? Or has this always been the status quo, just that now we're really getting a blow by blow of how these cases unfold and how they happened?
It's a bit of both, Thami. We are seeing more and more gruesome attacks of late, but there has always been harrowing attacks in the past that never saw the light of day in terms of making news headlines, in terms of actually being followed up, people going to court and lobbying and activism around such issues. So it's a bit of both. The numbers are increasing, the horror is increasing, the magnitude of the horror is increasing. However, so is the attention by society towards those.
A lot of money is being thrown into gender-based violence and fighting the scourge. Is that money, you believe, directly or rather directed in places where it can adequately make an impact?
Yes and no. Now, with the gender-based what's that, GBV and F fund, we are hoping it will be directed in the right place, where there will be laboratories, there will be more vehicles, there will be more trained professionals who will take specimens, who will examine, there will be dedicated police officers. All those to some extent had been there, but due to shortages, you'd find that FCS units, family and child services units within police stations, were the ones where they would be the first to take away from, to go and plug in other areas of need. There's been a lot of police officers who have resigned, been killed and died of natural deaths and retired, who have not been replaced. So we're hoping that. But the biggest where such funds and any other funds should go would be laboratories. That is where there's the make or break of our cases, because that is where evidence has got to be dropped off at, preserved, analyzed, reports be given and prepared for court, and be returned to the court in a particular state that will make the case winnable.
Talk to us about these 3 bills that have been passed and what role they will play in the fight against gender-based violence and femicide.
Okay. The 3 bills are your Domestic Violence Amendment Bill, the Sexual Offences and Related Matters Amendment Bill, and the Criminal and Related Matters Amendment Bill. Let me start with the Criminal and Related Matters Amendment Bill because it's the easier one, Thami. It's actually a bill that is going to improve 4 other existing legislation: your Magistrates Court Act of 1944, your Criminal Procedure Act of 1977, Criminal Amendment Matters of 1997, and your Superior Courts Act of 2013. So that bill is actually going to be going to 4 other legislation to plug in there the limitations that have been picked up. But why they're clubbed together, it's because these limitations were directly related to domestic violence and Sexual Offences Acts. That is why they are going together.
And
then you...
Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. And then you have the Sexual Offences and Related Matters Act, which is actually improving the 2007 Sexual Offences Act by enhancing certain things. For an example, Now there's going to be a compulsory need of documentation of more information of people who are in the register. Not only is it going to be just a name, because it would be easy to have Joe So in the register, and then that Joe So continues to traverse the country and cause havoc. Now it has to be Joe So who is in this and this area. When Joe So moves to the other area, it has to be documented, etc., etc. The strength about those things is that it gives added responsibility and duty to other people. For example, your teachers, your professionals, your magistrates. Now we cannot say we did not know that this teacher moved from Cape Town to go to Limpopo as a result of sexual violence and being found guilty or being suspected of, etc. Now there is a responsibility of actually reporting your movements, as well as other people having access with more information. So the register is going to be more usable by other people. Now, society must stand up to hold organizations like the unions, like SAIC, like all of those where we know predators are hiding, more accountable to say you can find them, you can trace them. What are you doing now?
There's also then the Domestic Violence Amendment Bill. Talk to us about that.
Yes, that is the amendments that have been brought there, Thami, are actually pleasing and quite exciting. For example, you have in the definition that includes the role of functionaries when they pick up domestic violence or suspect any domestic violence. In the past, the existing 1998 Act was saying you should report, but it never was done. It never was followed up. Now it says you should report, and if you are a professional like a doctor examining a patient, like a nurse, a teacher, there is a form that you need to fill in terms of what you have seen. So the professionals and functionaries have got a higher duty than us ordinary people. But with us ordinary people, there is an added protection that you, the person who goes to the police station to report, has got a right to remain anonymous. So police officers cannot now say, I cannot open a docket because Asazu to Mubani, who are you, tell us your name. The Act says you do not have to. But the Act goes further now. It highlights, it amplifies the vulnerable group that is made up of children, older persons, and people with disability. And the disabilities that have been identified are quite wide-ranging. So it's exciting to see that. And it specifically talks about children being exposed to domestic violence, and it says children will be those within above up to the age of 18, which then in a way plugs that hole that we've already had here, Ukutwala, where we were told that according to my culture, this person is now fit to be my wife, or I can take this person as a child. Neighbors and other people now have a role, a duty and a responsibility to raise the alarm and say there is a 17-year-old girl next door who have just been married. But not only neighbors, relatives. It must start from our homes, where we are saying we've got the protections in law. Let us bring them to life.
Now, Commissioner, now that the bills have been passed, what is the next step for them?
The next step is huge, but not in any way insurmountable, in the sense that that is where some of the money from the fund should be going to, where legitimate, proper NGOs, not NGOs that are looking for money so that they are seen to be doing something. Legitimate, proper NGOs have got to go out there and educate people. There's got to be training of all of the functionaries that we talk about, because one of the things that make our laws so weak is that they fall flat when the people who are supposed to apply them say, I was never told, I know nothing about it, I do not know what to do, what my duties and responsibilities are. The police officers have got to know now that anybody can walk into a police station and report an abuse and not give their name. So all the functionaries, widely. And this can be done through existing structures. We do not need new organizations. And I want to emphasize that. We can go to the existing organizations and get into pacts with them. The fund can get into contracts with them to say, these are our objectives as a fund. We're giving you this please go out and do 1, 2, 3.
And Commissioner, what you're talking about is so important. Yes, they've been passed, but there needs to be awareness of them so that they're adequately implemented. We'll leave it at that for this afternoon, but we thank you very much for your insight. That's Commissioner Nthabiseng Sepanya Mogale, Commissioner at the Commission for Gender Equality.